Welcome back to the Tydirium Hangar. Happy Friday, everybody. This is Mike. Today, I want to talk to you about Takara and what has beat Takara. We're going to kind of do a 50-50. The first half's going to be what they've done well, voted by you guys or inspired by the viewers. And then I'm going to talk the other half about the ones that were beat by other third-party companies. Obviously, every company's going to have some wins and losses. This is Takara's sort of win and loss ratio going on according to viewers. We're going to get into talking about this, but also same thing for next week. I want some feedback this week for a video next week or the week after. Who are your top favorite Transformer reviewers, obviously aside from me, because I want to give you my takes on it, and of course maybe spread around some information about who else is great out there in reviewing Transformers. So give me your top three. You can list 20 if you want to, but at least identify your top three and then put the rest after that. Help me out with a future video, kind of like we did with this one. So let's get into looking at what beats Takara coming up. Okay, I've been trying to talk about characters and figures that we don't talk about all the time, but we talk about this all the time because unanimously everybody seems to feel like this is the best work of Takara. Maybe some other people like some of the other characters, some of the other versions of Masterpiece. Megatron a little bit better, but as a Takara win, people feel like MP36, Megatron is a win. I feel the same way, especially because there's a lot of different KOs out there that do some different stuff, and it all works out pretty well. Here's a nice picture put together by Cheem, and it's courtesy of 6O's picture photography work right there. Some of this stuff, getting all of these in one picture makes it really easy to just get a look and see what DX9 Mitron, which I feel is now the second best of these. Then I think it's the X Transbots Polyon, then it's the Make Toys Despotron. We've been over this a lot, but they're all kind of fun options to have. Still, Takara wins. What I think could beat them is, of course, people feel Fans Toys might pull the trigger on this figure one day, but Magic Square could take them on and could possibly win. Also, MP39 Sunstreaker still is the best option that is out there. I think it's a great looking figure overall. Bit of a complex transformation. This is kind of when they started taking their Carbots to the next level, and it shows in the transformation, but it shows in both modes. Looking fantastic, and all the different things where you can do, where you could make it look just like a regular vehicle, or you could make it look just like the G1 toy with that kind of rear exhaust thing going on. It's whatever's got going on with all that chrome stuff on the back. But anyhow, here it is next to Omnigonic Spinout, which people deem as a failure for QC issues, not really design issues, QC issues, and Bad Cube, which was the reigning king supreme for a while until Takara knocked him off the high horse. Anyway, I own all these three. I don't have any skin in the game other than the fact that I agree when everybody says that Takara wins this one. The next one that people say Takara wins is Skyfire. I feel the same way. The weird thing is, in pictures, I thought it looked kind of wonky and goofy. In hand, in person, I feel like in hand, it is what the on-screen counterpart should look like. So understanding what the engineers were doing and thinking and how they were operating when they put this together. It's a really good looking figure. Some people might say that the alt mode looks a little bit goofy. I can understand the thought process behind that. It is a very simplistic transformation compared to a lot of their other transformations that are out there. I do like that you can get a KO of this that has some slightly different paint apps and looks a little bit different, but it's not a loss versus the Fans Toys, because Fans Toys is going for something different, and with that, they both look good. They're both great options. So it's not a loss. It's just one of Takara's better figures. I feel like we've been down this road before. Takara over here with this wonderful looking version of Shockwave. Shockwave looks fantastic. I love the design. Kind of don't like the colors so much, but I guess it could have done worse. The Lavender Wave. The Plus, in my opinion, is the better one. This actually is more screen accurate, depending on the cell and frame and all that stuff that you're looking at, but it still kind of wins. I'm not really going to compare it to all the other ones that are out there. In my mind, and in a lot of other people's mind, it fits the animation best. I do feel like he's a bit short, but that's the only downside. Okay, it has a really good upside down submarine mode. Do you know what an upside down submarine mode is? Well, you'll know if you get the comic version of one. It comes out with like a submarine mode instead of a gun mode. Flip it around, you got a gun mode. That's how that works. Anyway, with this one here, good alt mode, good figure overall. Wish he was bigger, wish he was more purplier. Now it's time for the dividing line. I've got a lot of people saying that they believe the Hound is the best or one of Takara's best figures, and I agree, but a whole slew of people feeling like it's one of the worst because of the QC issues. Because if you break a figure, there's really something about it, especially if you weren't applying excessive force and pop, it breaks. I understand wholeheartedly that you'll be soured on a figure, but with that, this still is a good-looking figure. I believe it matches the animation the best, and the colors work, everything works. It feels kind of lightweight, not very much die cast in it, but overall, I think it is a very solid-looking figure. It is mine in my display. I don't display the Fans Toys Willis, and it's got a decent alt mode, but there's pluses and minuses to these. Talked enough about this guy. Plus, minus, now we're in the minus side. Now we're going to get into what a lot of people are saying is one of their worst figures is RC because of the backpack, because of how it's done. This is one of those figures that's really hard to nail. It's trying to nail and get it perfect. There is no definitive version. We're going to see that here in a bit. She does have kind of a droopy chest, which gets fixed in the KO, by the way. If you picked up that KO, I don't know if they still have any left at Show Z, but I'm definitely happy I picked a KO up. Better looking chest. Improved a few things on it overall. But it's kind of an old picture here. Not really all that great, but kind of all the different options out there. Just kind of showing this does not have a definitive version of RC. Not even in the non-transforming versions. But if you took the Takara one and put a whole different backpack on it, it worked, but not transformed. And that's owning all of these different versions and variations. I do think that several of the alt modes look pretty good, and I like Takara's alt mode the most. I would say the most well-rounded out of all of them is MMC. Toy World's alt mode is unusable. Remember, these were voted on informally by you guys in the comments section below, kind of like we're doing with reviewers for next week or the week after, depending on when I get that video together. But Ultra Magnus, this is one that I agree with too, because I personally felt like he was too bulky. I thought it was a good looking representation for the time, and I still felt like, couldn't they slim him down just a little bit? Couldn't they make him just a little bit better? Well, yes, they did actually. X-Transbots did it. X-Transbots did it, but what's the price to pay? The transformation is probably 4 times more involved for the X-Transbots one versus Takara's. But which one do I have on my shelf right now? I got the X-Transbots on the shelf right now. And that's because I think it looks better. But then again, X-Transbots did have like 6 more years to work on it. And with all that said, we got a Fans Toys one coming. Will the X-Transbots hold its own still? Who knows? But Takara, in my opinion's out on this one. And a lot of people agree. I'm not going too deep on the Trailbreaker situation, but people do say Trailbreaker is one of the worst ones. And I hear it a lot. It's like, oh, this is one of their fails. Fail. I don't think it's a fail because I think it's one of the top 2 contenders. I really feel like it's now kind of between Takara and Fans Toys, and there's things I like about each one of them. Overall, I do pick the Fans Toys myself on my display, my shelf, but I haven't gotten rid of my Takara. I think that it does a lot of things really well. I do like the way the hood sits lower on the chest, feels more accurate, toon accurate. I do feel like this overall is more toon accurate, but a lot of people do like the heroic proportions that we get from the Fans Toys, and now I realize why I didn't use this picture in my original thumbnail. My hand's in the way. Maybe it's my thumbnail in the way. Next up, we have the next fail, Sideswipe and Red Alert. Showing Sideswipe real quick, I want to show this picture because it does show where they were with the first Carbot of 12. I think 12 was the first Carbot, if I'm not mistaken with that one. And then we see where we went with MP39, which was probably their best Carbot that they've made, according to a lot of people. And you gotta say, simplistic and bulky on 12, or Sunstreaker, which was really more refined but extremely complex. Which one's better? Well, that's kind of up to you. But I do feel like a lot of people that Bad Cube did a better job when it comes to Sideswipe and Red Alert. Here we go with the Bad Cube on the left, and we have Takara's on the right. I did not bother with getting this Red Alert in the Plus version because there's not enough differences, and I already had the Bad Cube. so why bother? But looking at all these, which one do you think looks better? And it was pointed out last week, which I didn't even really think about so much, but it's true. Takara just kind of repainted their previous figure. Elsewhere, Red Alert made some molding differences and changes and alterations to match the character more closely. So that is a plus. A plus for Bad Cube, and a minus for Takara, even though they have a plus next to their MP14. And now this one I've been keeping active in my news folder all week long, specifically for this video, because perfect timing, X-Transbots dropped these pictures right away, the very next day, and really good pictures to show what's going on with their Ironhide. Now, I've got to say that Takara's Ironhide, that's been a big complaint of mine. And of course it goes with Ratchet too, but I think their Ratchet, for whatever reason, color scheme or whatever, just looks a little bit better. I can live with it a little bit more. My problems with the original Takara, and I see most of it is fixed with the X-Transbots, is the hip flaps, the wonky kind of shape of the waist piece, and then the way the legs are kind of bulky, almost looking like they're kind of double jointed, bow-legged weird look going on with the legs. I own this figure, but of course I'm looking for a better one, and I think we're going to get that with X-Transbots. Now you got a lot of people with the I'll wait for the fans toys, and I understand that also. Just curious, what does fans toys do in 2033 when they put theirs out? That will be very interesting to find out, but this thing will probably come either by the end of the year or early next year, possibly. There's no guarantees in life, but when you see them side by side, a definite massive improvement, proving that this is a long-term Takara fail. Well, in my opinion, and the opinion of pretty much everybody that submitted. Lastly, we've got the Takara Seeker 3.0 that people feel is a failure. I don't feel they're a failure. I think they look great. I think they match the animation. My only two complaints, and there's really only two. Number one, I think the thighs are really skinny. They're real skinny. I'm sure that helps with the transformation, but I think they're just too skinny. They don't really look quite right, but that's not enough to detract from it enough to say they're terrible. The other thing is I feel they're too short. So that's the two things, especially when you have the contender, which is a really solid contender out there with the deformation space. Is deformation space? Excellent contender out there. If you track those down, those are good ones. But this is a good set. I have both sets. I have no interest in getting rid of these. I think they look fantastic. They're just not on my main display. And with that, I think they're good. I don't think they're a fail. But are they beat? Well, yeah. In the eyes of most collectors, they did get beat here, even though it's not a fail. Thanks again to those of you who chimed in on this topic. Hopefully you can chime in on the next topic on reviewers for next week, or possibly the next week after that. But get them in this comments in this video here, and let me know what you think. And if you didn't chime in on last week, chime in this week and just let me know what you think about this topic of what beats Takara and what you like, what you don't like about them. Like and subscribe, though. Hopefully you like. If you dislike, well, dislike. Tyderium Hanger, out.